So there's 6 dogs sitting around the table playing poker. It's a collie, a shepherd, a boxer, a dachshund, and 2 other dogs. The collie looks under the table, comes back up, and says, "Woof." Oh. Welcome to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson. I don't know. I don't understand dog. If he had said something that I had understood, and
could have been very profound.
It could have been very profound. Anyway, any rate, David Stevenson, Gene Hislop, Scott Sweeney,
Shawn Sweeney.
Shawn Sweeney back for a second show.
We've been talking about a lot of Scotts today.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about something more specific having to do with the Jane Goodall Institute in this show, and that is
Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
And we had touched on that briefly in the prior episode for those of you who are tuning in after the original episode featuring our guest, Shawn Sweeney. It is the youth branch of the Jane Goodall Institute, the youth program that was started out. Do you want to talk a little bit? They're celebrating their 20th anniversary, is that correct?
Yep.
Now, how did that program come about?
Yeah, so it came about 20 years ago, as you mentioned, 1991 in Tanzania, where, you know, the Jane Goodall Institute and where Jane has done her work for 50 years. What ended up happening was Jane had realized from a number of young people that she had been interacting with that they really felt like their futures had been stolen from them, and that, you know, they really had no role to play in making change in their communities and that kind of thing. So she encouraged them to start working on projects in their communities and different things. So one of the first Roots and Shoots projects, as an example, was a beach cleanup. They were in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. That's the capital of Tanzania, and right on the ocean. Mm-hmm. And they that was one of the first projects. They also did another project helping to increase awareness about humane treatment of animals at the market. Mm-hmm. So things like that as well. And, you know, from there, as Jane has traveled around the world, she's really grown Roots and Shoots and spread this message, you know, based from that first group, really tried to, you know, share their successes. And, you know, in the last 20 years, certainly there's been many more successes, and we're in 120 countries now. So lots of effort, you know, just from that first group.
Last time I looked, there were about 210 countries in the world. So that's better than half the countries in the world. That's pretty impressive.
It is very impressive.
Yeah.
How does Roots and Shoots function? How is the organization? Is it mainly an after-school program, or is it community group, or how does it function?
Well, our main push right now is really trying to bring Roots and Shoots into the classroom through environmental service learning. But, you know, 50,000-foot view, Roots and Shoots literally exists in any place where young people congregate. The emphasis is really for preschool through university, so really broad there. But we've also had Roots and Shoots groups in prisons, in nursing homes, in, you know, corporate offices and stuff like that. So, you know, all over the place. And, you know, we all kind of say for youth of all ages.
Wow.
So, but as I mentioned, our big push is, you know, environmental service learning, which is helping teachers to align community service, the projects that our members do, with, you know, academic lesson plans and curricular goals that they already have going on. So we all know that.
So it juxtaposes it and incorporates right into what the teacher's basic plan is, and just augments that a little bit.
Yeah, well, and the really neat thing about that is that, you know, the students have something immediately to apply their classroom learning to. So they're not learning, you know, things that are just for learning's sake. They're learning them so that they can apply them on a project. And the really neat, in the other direction, it makes their service projects all the better because they're learning, what they need to learn to do really well in the project in the classroom. So it's a nice kind of reciprocal relationship there.
I know that in the Danbury school system, and I don't know if this is statewide or even nationwide, they have something called Nature's Classroom, that they, elementary school children, I think they take them for a week up to a place in Maine, and they basically study, nature and environment and stuff. So obviously, somewhere somebody made the decision or the connection that having interaction with the environment and learning about our environment is actually a positive thing for children.
Yeah.
So how have you seen that translate, like the benefit of being involved in environmental stuff with children?
I think we've seen it in a lot of different ways, certainly from just with such a big network, it's hard to interact with, a ton of people, but just in I started out as a group leader about 7 years ago, and then have been on staff for 3.5 years, and, in that time have encountered so many groups that, where the kids just go on and on and on about how cool their service projects are and how neat it is about all the different things that they've learned, and that, people have made it a priority for them to be able to go and have these really amazing experiences that they wouldn't have any other way. And, you spoke about environment, and it's something that we all share. So it's a platform that we can all operate from where, when we do our community service projects, we're all level set. And so it's something that working on and understanding nature and the environment is so critical and important, because without it, everything else is, not going to matter.
So we could say that it helps to break down barriers between kids when they realize that they share this common ground, for instance, which might actually positively impact confidence and also maybe decrease problems such as the bullying, mean girl type syndromes that are...
Yeah, the field of service learning is really huge, and there's been a ton of amazing academic research that's looked at all different kinds of things. Definitely studies showing that bullying specifically is reduced, and one of the big things is associated with bullying is dropout prevention and kids not going to school because of being bullied. And in classrooms and schools where service learning is used as a active teaching strategy, they see increased daily attendance and increased graduation. So there's a lot of research that talks about really those hard benefits of doing service learning in the classroom.
It's a good example of that right next door in Brewster, New York, at Green Chimneys Children's Services, where they have animals there, the kids, in order to get to know themselves better and get to know and relate better to other people, start by relating to an animal and get to know that animal and take care of it and gain that empathy that perhaps they haven't learned up until that point in their life, and then they can apply it to working with other people.
Yep, and they, a lot of that work there too is service oriented.
And can you explain examples of the service learning for our audience?
Yeah, so just trying to think of a couple different things. There's projects. We just did a teacher training this past weekend in New York City, and one teacher talked to us about a project where they were going to have their students create stencils for windows in their school. And one of the big problems with bird conservation is birds flying into windows, and especially in really big urban environments like New York City. So that was one project where
the stencil signifies to the bird that there's something there, don't fly into it.
Yeah, exactly. And they can,
it's kind of the opposite of the commercial for
Windex.
Where apparently people that make Windex want to see more birds die by crashing into windows.
Yep. Yeah, but it gives them the opportunity to talk about this issue in the context of studying birds, and their science classes and all of those kinds of things. So, that's just one example. And we actually just launched a new service learning curriculum that aligns with national standards, which is really important for teachers today to be able to go to their administrators and say this fits into that. So we published this curriculum with the Pearson Foundation, and there's actually resources in there for elementary, middle, and high school, and then extension activities for gifted students, for special needs students, for ESL students as well. They're broken out. Roots and Shoots, just like our work in Africa that we talked about in the last episode, is very holistic. So in our work, we talk about the environment as a platform where we operate, and people and animals are also a part of that. So when our young people do projects, their projects are either for people, animals, or the environment, or all three. Certainly there's plenty of projects that where they can draw connections on them all. But so with the curriculum, it's broken into people, animals, and the environment for elementary, middle, and high school. So there's actually 9 activities in this curriculum that draw on that and have guides and resources for
So the learning is not so linear, it's more broad-based, where you could take something you're learning and say, hey, that kind of applies to these other areas that are quite different and yet somehow similar.
Right. And the neat part about that is that a lot of times when you're talking about an environmental curriculum or environmental work, that kind of thing, it fits squarely into science curriculum or environmental science curriculum, that kind of thing. But with the work that we're doing, we're really trying to draw people's attention to the fact that environmental service learning can really go in any direction. So bringing it into social studies or even things like art classes and music classes. And
excellent.
I really love the creative side of it too, because if the environmental movement and any movement doesn't have the creative people involved, they can't, stir up the emotions and the passion that people need to really be excited about getting involved.
Which is, it's almost an unfortunate thing that it seems like we pay more attention to an issue when there's a celebrity involved in it. But we see that all the time. We have celebrity activists in Africa, like Angelina Jolie working on the UNICEF, and George Clooney working in
Sudan.
Yeah, in Sudan. And, it usually takes either music, art, or a celebrity name to draw attention to this, to different issues. So,
yeah,
very right.
I think I would probably say that, just from what I've seen in Roots and Shoots, like for instance, we just did this really awesome thing for the earthquake in Haiti. When the earthquake happened, there was this big call for money. And of course, we work with kids from preschool through university, and, we can go to them and say, yeah, it's really important for you to donate, but they want to do something more.
Yes.
And,
something more tangible,
exactly.
certainly.
And the money usually is only an initial solution anyway.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
right. So
very stopgap. Yeah, just to cure the immediate suffering.
Yeah,
survival.
So what we ended up doing, we have this kind of track record of pulling letters and artwork and stuff like that together for other kids in these areas that are affected by these natural disasters. So with the earthquake in Haiti, we started Messages of Hope for Haiti. And with this thing, we actually had 7,500 messages and pieces of art and friendship bracelets and T-shirts and giant banners and all of these things that came in. And working with Roots and Shoots group leader who's worked all over the world in Haiti. He actually works for Mercy Corps down there, and they have an art therapy project going on.
very
And
important in the healing process.
exactly.
We saw in post 9/11.
Yep.
One of the biggest things we all remember is seeing some of the pictures that children were drawing at that time.
Yeah, so their art therapy project down there, they're working with 1,800 youth down there and using our messages of hope to, give them, messages from other kids around the world. And it's just been really huge. And now they've actually taken the idea of messages of hope for Haiti, and as a part of the art therapy, having the kids do their own messages for other kids in Haiti or other kids that are affected around the world.
Aww.
So it's like one of these things, like if you're in Haiti, if you're a kid in Haiti and you can muster up enough hope to create your own message and pass it on, it's like no matter where you are,
pay it forward.
Exactly.
It's
like
a chain that keeps giving too.
Yeah,
really
but
amazing.
That's just one example where we sort of brought in the creative side to activism and to service, and gave people a project that they could do, and it's having a really huge impact.
That's amazing.
So it's really neat.
Now, in the Danbury area, you currently, for the last few years, worked for Roots and Shoots, and you were a group leader at Western Connecticut State University. Are there also Roots and Shoots groups in high school in Danbury and in the elementary? Yes?
Yeah, so my work as a group leader was actually at the College of Worcester when I was in college. So here in Danbury, my main focus is actually on Roots and Shoots across the United States. So as I mentioned in the last episode, I work with our national team and work on, initiatives across the nation. But there is a really great presence for Roots and Shoots in the local area. The group at WestCon is incredibly active. They have 1 million projects, and our Northeast region has recognized them a number of times for having the longest standing membership and the most projects, that kind of thing. And it's actually really neat for me because I try and be as hands-off as possible with them. I really want them to excel and succeed and, do well, despite the fact that, a member of the staff of Roots and Shoots is on campus.
Right.
And they do. They have really great projects. They're working this semester on a lot of different things, but Roots and Shoots nationally right now is working on a campaign called Hope on the Edge, Hope for Animals and Their World. It's all about endangered species. And for WestCon, they're actually planning a week of animal activities on campus where, they're going to have Atka from the Wolf Conservation.
I've met Atka, beautiful wolf, and it's amazing what you learn about wolves from this. And that whole conservation project with the wolves is amazing.
Yeah. So they're going to have Atka on campus to do a public program. They're going to have someone that works with birds of prey on campus to do a public program. They're also going to do something with reptiles. I know they're working on something for World Water Day, a hydroponics project as well.
And we're talking about the legal kind of hydroponic growing.
Oh, okay.
Some of our audience might only.
Okay, I didn't. This is
I'm lost there too. It's beyond me.
I'm sorry.
Only one of us at the table here is hip.
So. I think the hydroponics project actually grew out of their work last year, where they did a plant sale. They grew all of these plants in the greenhouse at WestCon from seed. And normally when clubs and different organizations do a plant sale, they buy all the plants already grown from a grower. But they grew all of the plants, and they had tomatoes and squash.
Many steps of the process by doing that.
Yep. What is the benefit of hydroponic growing for vegetables and such?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
I tried.
Well, we'll just have to pay attention to their project.
Yeah, we'll have to turn
see.
out.
Yeah.
Now, when is that actually that week that they're doing all these?
I think it's in April. They have a lot of stuff going on for Earth Week, so I think it's actually the second week of April. But they meet actually in our office on Tuesdays at 3:30, and so if there's ever any information people need, they can always check in with them.
Do they have a Facebook group or anything where people
they
can follow them?
Yeah, they can follow them. I think it's just WCSU Roots and Shoots.
Western Connecticut State University Roots and Shoots.
Yeah.
Right, and you could, of course, search on Facebook to link up with that and follow what they're involved in.
And they're pretty good about posting,
updates and what they're involved in.
Yeah.
Now, in the field of science, and getting back to how this segues into schools and the other fields of education in schools, does this segue in at all with evolution, with natural history? How do you segue what you're getting them involved in? How does that segue into that specifically?
I'm not sure. Certainly if, a curriculum called for studying that kind of thing, I'm certain that teachers could, bring Roots and Shoots into it and talk about different service projects.
So that's when the teacher gets involved in segueing what you're bringing to them in with the other courses of study that they're following.
Yeah. So, one of two things is that with Roots and Shoots, all of the work that our young people and our teachers do is based on genuine community needs that they see, in their general vicinity. And, I'm from Danbury, Connecticut, so I can rattle off a million different issues that are going on here, but for someone in Wisconsin or Kansas or whatever,
the issues will be different.
Exactly. They'll be totally different. So we don't prescribe what issues people tackle, or, and certainly their curriculum is their own. Yeah. So what we're really bringing them is this, model for holistic service learning and bringing the benefits of service to their students. So
I would assume that because Jane Goodall is a scientist and, a lover of science, having studied these apes, that she obviously sees the scientific evidence of evolution, in her studies. I assume that Roots and Shoots, though, probably doesn't make a big stand about, evolution versus.
Right. There's no point in fighting battles that you're just going to get into. That'll just turn into arguments. You find it's like we do on this show with many of our guests. We find areas of agreement and stay away from areas that there's going to be no agreement on.
Yeah, and even. I would say it's not, on the Jane Goodall Institute on the whole, it's not one of our areas of expertise. So it's not something that we would, really get into any conversation about, because we can't speak with any authority.
All they want to speak about is their observation of the work they do and their actual observation of, ape behavior and such like that.
And let the students draw their own conclusions and look further into it if they want to pursue that, if they want to, get into points of disagreement with their parents or the schools.
And again, that's really going to be, part of the teacher side of things and the different kinds of things that they're presenting to their students. So
now, you had said, there is a group at WestCon, and I asked you if are there high school and elementary and junior high folk running right now in Danbury that you know of? Are there chapters?
There's a bunch. The one that I know of well, there's actually two. There's a Girl Scout troop in Sherman that we've worked with in the past, and New Milford Youth Agency actually has a Roots and Shoots group as well, and then Bethel Middle School also. So those are the ones that I've interacted with.
So now a kid in Danbury High or a kid in Broadview could contact Roots and Shoots to possibly start up their own chapter?
Yep, absolutely. And, of course, our office is here, but as I mentioned before, my focus is really,
globally almost.
Yeah, and but we actually, Connecticut is a part of our northeast region, and we have an office up in Boston and staff there that handle the Roots and Shoots network, specifically in the 6 New England states and then New York State. So, they're an amazing resource to be able to, be connected with the local network and all of the different things that go on. They have events throughout the year, different opportunities to meet other people, an annual youth summit that happens in November, which will actually be in New York City this year. So we're really excited about that.
So if a teenager or a child is watching the show, should they go onto the Roots and Shoots website to find out how to start a chapter in their own?
Yep.
And what's that website?
The website is rootsandshoots.org, and they can hop on there. There's a million different tools on the website.
Can you go on to janegoodall.org and navigate from there to rootsandshoots.org?
Yep.
So they're all connected.
Yeah, they're well connected back and forth, and you can we have a find a group tool on there, so you can go in and put your zip code in there, and groups will say if they're accepting members or not, and if they are, you can contact them through the website and see about getting involved with their groups. So lots of different ways of connecting, and there's tons of information up there about how to get started and how to sign up. So
now, what are some of the most exciting Roots and Shoots projects that you've seen?
All kinds of stuff. We have a group in California that has a bottle cap monster. Their big thing. They live near the ocean, and they have a big passion for working on, beach cleanups and, the health of the ocean that way. And they actually create public art installations out of the trash that they collect. And one of the things that they have is this costume that they've built out of bottle caps for someone to wear at their events and stuff like that.
Excellent.
So I think that's really neat. We actually have a feature for our groups called Project of the Week, and each week we go through and choose one. There was one recently where a group does a monthly potluck dinner at a local women's shelter, and the really neat thing is that where they are is a place that's very diverse, like Danbury, very diverse, like Danbury, and it's a multicultural potluck dinner. So awesome. they get everybody to bring food that represents their their cultural background and that kind of thing. So it turns into this cross-cultural learning experience for the Roots and Shoots group, but also
the disadvantaged women.
Exactly. So they all learn these different things, and they're creating community and
that's
support.
A beautiful project.
Yeah, yeah. So it's stuff like that. Like people, talking about creativity again. It's it's really thinking outside the box and coming up with projects that are like that. That you wouldn't never necessarily think that
valuable
could be
on so many levels.
Yeah. Yep.
And reaching back inwards to your own culture in order to have a better understanding of reaching out to other cultures.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
in closing, because we're going to be wrapping up pretty soon.
1 minute.
Well, what would you like to say about Roots and Shoots and why it's such a worthwhile project, if you could sum it up in 1 minute?
Well, it's funny. Usually in things like this, I try and share why Roots and Shoots, the name Roots and Shoots. And it's something that Dr. Jane came up with. We have this famous quote, and I never try and give it verbatim, but basically Jane asks people to imagine a seed and, what a seed will do to reach water and reach light. And we know that a seed will
break through cement.
Yeah, it'll break through brick walls. It'll break through boulders to reach water, and the shoots, the roots will break through boulders, and the shoots will break down brick walls. And she says that if we imagine all of the problems in the world as all of those boulders and all of those brick walls, that our Roots and Shoots are the ones who are breaking those down. And if you can think about it's young people all over the world breaking down these barriers and breaking down these issues.
Thank you so much, Shawn.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thanks
Glad
very
to be
much.
Here. Yeah, thank you.
Great having you on.
Very good.